Pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Gavin Smith from Bosch, so another very valued sponsor for the conference. You can read Gavin's very impressive bio in all of your booklets, but what I really wanted to reiterate was the role that Bosch is playing in the ag tech space particularly. So not only do they do washing machines, by the way they do really mint washing machines, mine's been going for years, but the ag tech space is what we're really interested in. They're investing heavily in our industry. They have played a particularly important role in and invested heavily in Swarm Farm, which have got a robot just out here in the corner that's closest to us, so I'd encourage everyone to go and have a bit of a yarn there, and also the yield. So if you could please join me in welcoming Gavin Smith to the stage, he'll help us understand a little more on Bosch.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. In the words of Monty Python, are there any farmers here? Anyone at all?
Yeah.
Good, because it's all about you, isn't it? Just one minor correction. As much as Andrew Bate would like us to be an investor in Swarm Farm, we're not. We certainly invested in them, doing a lot of work with them, but so far not a financial investment, but certainly we are invested in the yield. Now, you might be wondering why someone from Bosch is giving an address ahead of a panel discussion on the future of Aussie ag tech. You get some insights from my introduction, but I guess most of you wouldn't think of Bosch as a player in the ag space at all. But we are. We've been in agriculture for a long time, but only recently has that changed from our traditional business, which is around supplying components to the big equipment manufacturers, the John Deeres, the Classes, the types of things that you see in this picture here. Is a 130-year-old company that is active in the mobility, consumer goods, industrial technology and building and energy sectors. We have quite some capability that we can also apply in the fast-emerging ag tech markets. And we're big enough. With 400,000 people, 60,000 of them working in R&D, and revenues now exceeding $120 billion a year, we can do a lot and bring latest technology at farm grade to the ag sector with significant cost benefits because of the scale of production and our global network of more than 260 manufacturing locations. But where do we start? Let's take a leaf out of the book from manufacturing. The Germans coined the term Industry 4.0 for the coming of the fourth industrial revolution, a revolution being made possible by the adoption of low-cost sensors, internet connectivity, and cyber physical systems in that manufacturing sector. Industry 4.0, or the factory of the future, is connected to the internet, sensored up, monitoring all facets of activity and operations. It shares data throughout the supply chain to optimize the production process for itself, sub-suppliers and customers, ensuring just-in-time delivery, no overproduction and zero defects. Sounds like great aspirations also for agriculture, but a little bit harder to realise perhaps. Using artificial intelligence and machine learning, the factory of the future becomes smarter at predicting customer needs, supplier issues, and is capable of self-scheduling daily production around optimum batch sizes with potential for mass customisation, while simultaneously predicting maintenance needs to avoid unplanned breakdowns. Even today's best-run factories have massive potential for efficiency and cost improvement and reduce risk when applying Industry 4.0 tools and techniques. The benefits throughout the manufactured goods value chain is estimated to be worth trillions of dollars a year globally. The fundamentals: mass application of sensors to production machines, to the stillages, to the produced components and assemblies, assets, and also to the people. Flexible automation, cloud computing and reliable and secure internet connectivity, big data sets, the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Decision-making in this environment can be delegated to the machine and potentially to machines outside the producing organisation. In such a factory of the future, trust above all is essential. Trust that the connected supply chain partners have secure systems ensuring no vulnerabilities. Trust that a self-learning system of production can be given delegated control. Trust that the data captured, shared or accessed is only used for good, for the agreed purpose and with the owner's consent. But this is manufacturing. What's all that got to do with the future of Aussie agtech? Well, in fact, agriculture, as the least digitised of all sectors, presents one of the greatest opportunities should the sector embrace the possibilities of this fourth industrial revolution. There are many parallels between the factory of the future and the farm of the future. We can also draw parallels between the food value chain and the value chain for manufactured goods. Although there are differences thanks to the inconvenience that Mother Nature throws in, the principles are largely the same. Flexible automation can reduce the reliance on manual labour, giving repeatable and therefore more predictable results. Having said that, unlike a factory, flexible automation is much harder to realise on farm. The environment is different, it's more complex and can vary every day. And of course, every crop can be different in terms of its needs and how it has to be handled. Some farm processes are the most difficult in the world to automate. I don't yet see anyone who's mastering the automation of picking raspberries, for example. Packing sheds, however, are more like factories and could be considered, pardon the pun, to be low-hanging fruit for automation. Speed, availability, reliability, and the relative cost of internet connectivity clearly pose some of the biggest challenges on farm for applying Industry 4.0 solutions. We know what works in homes and factories often fails to deliver on the farm. To the sensing element, the market for agriculture sensors is actually relatively small today. The biggest segment, soil moisture, is still less than $100 million a year in turnover globally for the companies who make and sell those sensors. And the participants are actually relatively small companies. Breakthroughs in sensor technology are needed and will be a fundamental enabler. There is no place in the farm of the future for research-grade or consumer electronic-grade sensors. On one hand, too expensive, on the other hand, too unreliable. Farm-grade sensors have to be designed with the environment in mind and to performance and cost levels that promote mass installation, not occasional installation. Bearing in mind that animals eat them or stomp on them, tractors run over them, that the environment does its best to destroy them, and that they will be installed in remote, inconvenient locations, they have to be farm-grade, trouble-free, and very long life. It's actually questionable whether the existing players bringing sensors to market for agriculture today have the financial strength to bring such sensors to market. The biggest breakthroughs, therefore, may come from collaborations with large sensor-producing companies that are already active in adjacent sectors. But it does take time. Compared to factories, when all sensored up, farms will have bigger data sets, lending themselves even more to the application of artificial intelligence and machine learning. With sophisticated but easy to understand tools, the farm of the future will benefit from accurate predictions that allow better decision making, reduce risk and improved yield. For some decisions, and here I underscore some, control could be delegated to the machine, once recommendations over time can be trusted. With respect to trust, the same fears and risks that apply in a manufacturing setting also apply on farm. Fears of data misuse by suppliers, customers, regulators, and competitors creates reluctance to create food value chain platforms with shared data. Such shared data platforms allowing value chain problems to be solved and opportunities to be created, however, are the key to unlocking the true opportunities that agtech can deliver. Not my stats, but something I've seen recently from Austrade, modelling suggests an increase in the gross value of production by 25% is possible when such agtech is widely adopted. By any standard, that is a tremendous improvement. So to some of the tech, the digital marketplace is fast becoming crowded. This and the reality that the majority of farmers are not tech savvy, sorry, but you're not, makes it difficult to know who to believe and what to choose. So difficult is it to navigate the marketplace that doing nothing is often seen as better than making unwise investments. Nevertheless, many farms have already invested in lots of hardware that isn't fit for purpose and software that stands as an island unable to be integrated, bought from companies which are already out of business. Such bad experiences can and have poisoned the well for others coming later with better solutions and better tech. The sector has perhaps become too sexy globally. There is an explosion of startups, incubators and accelerators, most of which are focused on bringing the next killer app. It reminds me a bit of watching an under-9 soccer match. Lots of youthful enthusiasm, but unfortunately not too much skill. And everyone is chasing the same ball. Those that are bringing new hardware are often technology-led, rarely focusing on the business model or affordability, let alone the issues of long-term reliability or being fit for purpose on farm. Autonomous machines are already here and more are certainly coming. Improvements in the cost and performance of sensor technology, be it radar, sonar, LiDAR or video, means that the hardware is no longer a restriction. It's not the problem. The scale economies being achieved in the application of these types of sensors in passenger motor vehicles is a blessing and means that they will come to the farm quite quickly. With those improvements and computer chips that can now process more than 300 billion operations per second, we should be confident that the autonomous machines are coming of age. As with passenger cars, we can expect much more in the early 2020s. However, the complexity should not be underestimated. Again, on farm, it's different. The area of safety concepts, possibly the most difficult to overcome. We know this already from Bosch's experience around highly automated passenger cars. It's not so much about when they're in the paddock, but how do you get them there? When they have to travel on public highways, they will either have to be transported on the back of a truck, or they will have to have very complex and costly automated driving capability, the same type of technology that will be in passenger cars in future, but in that segment, they make 90 million cars a year. There are economies of scale. And if not that, there has to be some kind of hybrid solution with manual controls that allows that automated piece of equipment to get to the farm location where it will be used. It's increasingly likely that smaller, cheaper, multi-purpose, autonomous or remote-controlled robotic platforms that are transported to the working location will rise. There are many benefits: cost, weight, footprint, and redundancy. Having 10 of something running around your paddocks rather than one is probably not bad should one break down. Increasingly, these will be brought by new entrants to the sector with the potential to disrupt the market for existing participants that have legacy investments in today's big machinery. As well as being workhorses, these platforms, these machines, will become mobile sensing platforms gathering relevant data as they roam. Automated picking and, to a lesser extent, automated pollinating are some of the most complex problems to solve. I guess you know that. While the base technology exists to be able to do this in theory, applying it such that the performance is reliable, repeatable, and cost-effective still needs a lot of work. The challenge of affordability for such systems also comes into play due to the necessity to solve the picking problem many times over due to the different sizes, shapes, textures, colours, robustness, growing environments, and growth canopies to be dealt with. Having said that, it's a challenge that is being taken up by hundreds of interested organisations, including my own, and I would imagine with time that the problems will not be insurmountable. In closing, we're on the cusp of the fourth agricultural revolution. Technology is coming of age that can transform agriculture from one of the least digitalised of all sectors to being one of the most digitalised. And when it is, in the words of Ros Harvey, seen here in this picture, Ros being the CEO of the Aussie agtech company The Yield, we will be able to feed the world without wrecking the planet. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Gavin. Some of the just key things that I pulled out of Gavin's presentation there, I guess it's more of a reflection. So he mentioned that less than $100 million is spent on developing soil moisture technology globally every year. So for my mind, that sort of seems quite a small figure. But the thing that interested me is he said that mostly that technology is being taken up by small businesses and small farms. So that's the likes of, you guys, the local, those are the sorts of companies and organisations that are supporting rural and regional communities. So I was really impressed with that sort of stat. Tech companies also face the same trust issues that we do. We need to ensure, like when we're investing, I think it is so overwhelming, that tech space, and if it's not your core business or hasn't been in the past, it can be quite overwhelming, and I guess it's disappointing to hear that you get companies that are selling hardware to farming organisations and operators that, it's a startup and then a couple of years later it's gone and you're sort of left with having spent this investment. So I'd encourage you to be... go and speak to Gavin from Bosch. That's a big company. They're going to be around for a little while. There's a little plug for you, Gavin. And I love that final saying, that feeding the world without wrecking the planet. I think all of us have a role to play in that space. And it's been repeated time and time again, and it's something that I get pretty excited about and gets me out of bed.